for the state banquet in Brussels in honor of the Grand Duke of Luxembourg, Queen Mathilde, and Grand Duchess Maria Teresa donned glittering tiaras, which emphasize an intertwined history of two royal families. Grand Duke Henry and King Philippe are first cousins. As Henry's mother, Princess Josephine Charlotte, and Philip's father, King Albert II, were siblings. The Grand Duke of Luxembourg and the King of the Belgians share common grandparents, King Leopold III of Belgium and his consort Queen Astrid, whose tiara Queen Mathilde wore for the banquet. But unfortunately, the story, attached to the tiara of the 9 provinces, is the most sorrowful in the Belgian royal history. The jewel is almost 100 years old and consists of an Art Deco-style Greek diamond base topped with 11 big round diamonds that symbolize the royal house, the 9 Belgian provinces and Belgium's colony Congo. The tiara started its life in the moment of happiness. It was a gift to Princess Astrid of Sweden in 1926, upon her marriage to the future King Leopold III of Belgium. Princess Astrid was born in 1905. Her granddad, Oscar II, was King of Sweden and Norway, but she was raised with a strict education and little luxury. Astrid and her sisters learned housekeeping, and cooking became one of the favorite hobbies of the young princess. Astrid wasn't just gorgeous, she was famous worldwide for her beauty. When she came of age, she was one of the most eligible royals in Europe. One of the men her parents considered for her hand was the then Prince of Wales, Edward VIII of the United Kingdom. If this marriage ever happened, British history could have completely different turn, considering that Edward eventually abdicated his throne in order to marry the divorcee Wallis Simpson. At the same time the Swedish royals looked for the match to Astrid, the Belgian royal family was touring Scandinavia in search for suitable bride for their heir, Prince Leopold. In 1925, the two were introduced to each other and immediately fell in love. Allegedly, Astrid won Prince's heart with an endive salad of her own recipe. They were engaged the next year, but before announcement, Prince Leopold continued to visit his sweetheart secretly, pretending that he is her father's new butler. At the time when the love marriage was quite rare among royalty, the couple created a bit of scandal by holding hands during their official engagement, which was a pretty big deal in the 1920s. People called her the Snow Queen or the Snow Princess, and it even snowed on her wedding day to Leopold. It was a fairy tale for the ages. On behalf of Belgian people, who immediately adored the royal newcomer, the young princess was gifted an exquisite tiara featuring 11 enormous diamonds. The jewel was versatile and could be worn in different variations. The union of Astrid and Leopold was a love marriage by all accounts, and a couple had a daughter and 2 sons. The family lived in a small villa on the palace grounds, and Astrid still loved cooking for them personally rather than leaving it to the help. But their quiet life came to the end when in 1934 Leopold's father, King Albert I, perished in a mountaineering accident.
And on the following morning comes the new King Leopold on the day of his proclamation as sovereign. Long live the king.
Princess Astrid was now the queen consort of the Belgians. Occupied with the new roles, the young king and queen didn't have any privacy. Trying to avoid too much attention, at least on their holidays, in August 1935, they took incognito trip to Switzerland. What's supposed to become a happy retreat, sadly, turned into tragedy. One day they decided to take a mountain hike among the Swiss pear trees. As no-fuss monarchs, they even insisted that their chauffeur sit in the back seat on the way there, while Leopold drove and Astrid navigated. The queen pointed at something outside of her window. Leopold followed her hand. A second was all it took. They crashed. The queen was thrown from the car with her body slamming into a pear tree. Holding Astrid in his arms, the king watched helplessly how life was leaving the woman he loved. She was only 29, her youngest child was just a year old.
And here at Kusnacht, by the Lake of Lucerne, is the dreadful aftermath of that fatal drive. The royal car, in the waters of the lake, shows the marks of a severe battering.
Throngs of people attended the Snow Queen's funeral, though none were able to believe something so horrific had happened to someone so good. The king couldn't forgive himself to the end of his days, but the life prevailed. And in 1941, while under Nazis' house arrest, Leopold secretly married Mary Lillian Bales, 15 years his younger. She was a daughter of the governor of West Flanders. At the time when kings did not marry commoners, the wedding created a huge controversy, and Lillian was never titled as a queen, but Princess of Raytheon instead. The couple planned to postpone their marriage to the end of the war, but they needed to hurry because the bride was pregnant. Lilian returned some happiness into King's life and devoted herself to helping Leopold raise his children. But the public and media never fully accepted her, blaming the king of betrayal of Astrid's memory and branding his new wife as a social climber. In addition to the king's scandalous marriage after the war, many started to question his premature surrender to the Nazis, and in 1951, during political agitation, Leopold III abdicated in favor of his 21-year-old son, Prince Baudouin. During the first 9 years of her stepson's reign, Lilian acted as First Lady of Belgium. She wore the tiara of the 9 provinces for official events, but never in full version, instead as a bandeau or a bracelet, sometimes even suspending the diamonds from a gold choker. In 1960, King Baudouin married Febola de Mora of Aragon, a daughter of Spanish Marquess. The tiara secured the veil of the new Queen of the Belgians on her wedding day. That cemented the tiara's role of being worn solely by the Belgian queen, passed on rather than held privately. Unfortunately, this new royal couple also was haunted by tragedies. The queen suffered 5 miscarriages and never became a mother. King Baudouin never had an heir. Upon his death in 1993, the crown was passed to his younger brother Albert II, and the tiara to Albert's wife Queen Paola, who was originated from Italian noble family. In her youth, Paola was hailed as one of the leading beauties of Europe. Albert and Paola met in 1958 in Vatican at the coronation of Pope John XXIII. They married in 1959 and had 3 children, but what was first appeared as a love union experienced some difficulties. The public later learned that Albert had a mistress for 18 years and fathered a daughter out of wedlock. Despite the king's affair and a scandal, which followed his illegitimate daughter's lawsuit, Albert and Paola remained together. In 2013, officially for health reasons, but just a month after the king and 2 of his children had been asked to appear in court for DNA test, Albert II abdicated and his son Philippe became a king. The tiara was passed to a new queen consort, Queen Mathilde. Mathilde will continue to have sole use of the tiara until the day that her elder daughter, Elizabeth, becomes queen. Elizabeth will be the first ever queen regnant in Belgium, should the monarchy survive to her accession. Another tiara which sparkled at the banquet also links the Belgian royal family and the Grand Ducal family of Luxembourg. Grand Duchess Maria Teresa donned the Belgian scroll tiara, which was given to Princess Josephine Charlotte of Belgium by the Société Générale Bank as a wedding gift in 1953, when she married the hereditary Grand Duke of Luxembourg. Josephine Charlotte shared a striking resemblance with her mother, the tragic Queen Astrid, who she lost when she was only 6. The tiara was made by Henry Cousimans of 854 diamonds set in platinum, with a total weight of 46 carats. As most of the royal tiaras, this one is a transformer. The central diamond can be removed to be worn as a ring, and the entire central element can be also worn as a brooch. A few weeks after her wedding, the hereditary Grand Duchess wore the Belgian scroll tiara for the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II. The tiara continued to be worn by Josephine Charlotte, and in 2002 was loaned to Princess Sibylla, Grand Duchess' favorite daughter-in-law. After Josephine Charlotte's death in 2005, many of her jewels were put on auction by her children, which was later cancelled due to public outcry, and unlike some of the smaller jewels, the Belgian scroll tiara, which had been valued between 80,000 and 140,000 euros, was retained and not sold off discreetly. Since the late 2000s, the Belgian scroll tiara became a favorite of a new Grand Duchess Maria Teresa, worn for numerous portraits and state banquets, and definitely was appropriate for the visit to Belgium. Watch more videos about famous royal tiaras on this channel.